here it is. Ordered it on April 22nd. It came on April 29th. So it took a week. There's another box inside. So that's definitely good for some extra protection. A lot of foamy pieces. Everything's intact. Still has like half a battery. The handlebars, they bend, and you just gotta pull this thing like that, and then it bends. The handlebar can be extended in 3 different levels. You can fold the scooter in half, so that's very convenient for transporting it in your car. Leg stand. Nice. Some of the videos I saw on YouTube, you definitely want to check all the bolts, make sure everything is tightened. I had to tighten one of the screws here. It wasn't like all the way in. This fender is plastic, so you're probably not going to be standing on it. This is what it comes with. The charger itself, you get an adapter, like a universal everywhere kind of adapter. Instructions and information and a key. Definitely check out the instruction booklet. This is where you find how to access the menu of the computer. So this way you can change things like turn on and off the regenerative braking, because I don't like it. It's very strong. And of course switching things like kilometers per hour to miles per hour. I love this dial here because it obviously shows you the speed. You can also select gears. There's 3 of them, but it's basically like it limits your speed. So the first gear is like 14 miles an hour, the second is like 24, and the last one is like whatever the top speed you can get, which is about 42 on a full charge. Here are the switches. It's like maximum power. This is of course the switches between rear wheel drive or both wheel drive. Every time you turn it on, it automatically resets the trip mileage. So whatever you go riding for, it's gonna give you the mileage for that time. And of course it has the odometer, and you can see that I have accumulated 334 miles already. On the other side of the handlebar is where your honk is. I find it very annoying, but it is there, so that's cool. And these are the lights. I find the front light, it's good, you know, for night driving, to let others know that hey, here I am. But it is not a good source of light, so I would just say it does not illuminate the road ahead, period. Here's the rear one, and when you press the brake, it lights up, so it's really, really cool. Love that. I actually have a light that I was using on the bicycle. This is a dedicated light for bicycles, which is a floodlight, and this is something that you want to have on this kind of device, not the light that comes with it. This light is not good. For a little bit of time I couldn't figure out how to lock the scooter if I'm leaving it somewhere, but eventually I just took the lock from my bicycle, and that's the kind of lock I had. And this works perfectly, as I can always keep it on the scooter. I don't have to carry it in the back, it just always stays here. You might have to tighten it a little more so it doesn't flap around as much, and it works. Hey, that's the solution I found to lock the scooter. In terms of softness, the tires are air filled, which is really, really good. They also seem to be pretty thick. I would be much more likely to puncture a bicycle tire because it feels very soft and the rubber is skinny, rather than puncturing something like this. This does not feel as skinny at all. It feels like it's a much thicker rubber material. Suspension, I would say it's very important to have on a scooter. If you have your feet on the front and you hit a big pothole, there's a chance that it will bottom out, it will just clang, but everything is fine. I never had an issue. But I think it's also good to have suspension with combination with air-filled tires, because that makes it even softer. And it's probably a good thing to have for the longevity of your electric motors, as the shock that goes from the ground to these motors. At least it's absorbed through the tire and through the suspension, so much less of it actually transfers into long-term damage to the electric motor. There's not much that I found that I could do in terms of softening the front suspension, at least for now. But the rear suspension, you can easily adjust it by just twisting this piece right here, and I was able to just twist it quite a bit further back. So it was like somewhere here, I twisted it towards this way, but you can't really go too far, because in that case the spring is gonna get loose. So you want to adjust it so that the spring is not flapping around, but you do want to go as far as you can so that it is a bit of a softer ride. I want to mention safety, because on this scooter you can easily go to speeds of 40 miles an hour. Obviously you shouldn't, and I don't. I actually like going 50 miles an hour just for relaxation. But 20 miles an hour, 25, that's very easy, but you can do it, you know, most of your bike ride if your surroundings allow. And at those speeds, I mean, if you fall, you're definitely gonna hurt yourself. So I got some gloves which protect your fingers as well. You definitely want to have finger protection, and you wanna, like, this is not the best glove that you should have for this kind of riding, because there's no padding on the palm, and you should definitely have some kind of like a cushioning protection right here at this spot. So in the future I'll probably get some better ones, but these will do for now, for the summer. I would definitely suggest knee pads, absolutely a must. Elbow pads, probably optional. I mean, the more things you put on yourself, the more annoying it becomes, but knee pads, I would say, is a must. You definitely don't want to injure your knees. And of course the helmet. I would highly suggest a full face helmet, so that when you fall, at least the chin guard will take hopefully most of the impact. And glasses, yeah, because you're flying at these speeds, you know, all kinds of bugs, mosquitoes can go into your eyes, and I had that many times until buying these. We see that green, that's the brake pad, and it looks like a big chunk of it is just simply not even touching the brake rotor. Hopefully you can see the brake marks on the rotor. So I haven't done anything to the front pads yet, and you can see that the rotor is only half of it is being utilized, so the brake pads are only attaching about half of it. Very inefficient. I'm not a mechanic or anything, but this is pretty simple. Like, why is not all of it being utilized? Each bolt has like 3 spacers, so one that stays on the top and 2 like on the bottom. I have ended up moving all of the spacers to the top. This allows you for the whole caliper to go a bit lower. I had to take out one of the brake pads. I have to grind away a little bit of this edge, because I put the caliper lower than it's supposed to be. This little piece like is touching one of, like, whatever, the metal thing over there, and what that does is it kind of bulges, like it bulges out this way, and that's why it keeps touching the rotor when the brakes are not engaged. So basically it's always making noises. It's very annoying. So what I'm gonna do is just shave off a little bit here, so that's not gonna be a problem anymore. Very good example of how the brakes were before. The middle line is actually where the rotor was originally touching the brake pads. Now that I have moved it lower, now you see this black line? Now almost all of the brake pad is touching the brake rotor, except this little part on the top. but this is definitely much better. Alright, some of the pros and cons. Let's start with the good. Each motor has 1000 watts. I think that's more than enough. I think 500 would be fine. It feels really strong. When you have the all-wheel drive mode initiated, I would suggest be careful, because it can yank you so much, but it's fun. High top speed on a full charge, 42 miles an hour. Who needs that? I don't know, that's for some kind of extreme sports or something. I guess cool to have. Very good battery range. I'm not heavy, 130 pounds, so that probably helps, but I was able to go like about 55 miles. That's a lot, right? But I wouldn't count on it, would not suggest doing that, because you don't want to deplete your battery so low or like completely. Disc brakes, that's cool. You know, it's not some kind of other internal brake or anything like disc brakes. These are easily accessible. You can easily repair it or modify it or change the brake pads. The tires are air filled, so obviously that means they're softer, which is good. They're also 10 inches in size, which is good as well. It's much better than anything less than that. Of course, bigger would be better, but we got what we got. Full suspension, I think that's a must. All right. I mean, I think most users of scooters encounter a lot of rough terrain, potholes, cracks. So full suspension, but of course that does make the scooter much heavier. It is portable even though it's heavy, because you can fold the handlebar and you can fold the whole scooter in half. So recently I had to put it in my car. It's very heavy, but at least it is an option. So many controls in terms of the computer inside, and so many options there, like the odometer, speedometer, trip mileage. Really cool stuff, very sophisticated, and you can like turn on the regenerative braking. I don't like it, I don't suggest it, so I turned it off. And right now I'm experimenting with the low level. We'll see how that goes, but it's good to have, you know, as an option, and you can turn it off. So very sophisticated. Of course, the lights, front light, rear light, and the rear light, as you press the brakes, it's gonna turn on, this is great. This is like a motorized little motorcycle. What are some of the cons? The electric brake or the regenerative braking. At first when I just got it, it was on by default. There's 3 settings, high, low, and off. It was on a high setting, was setting 2. It's like when you press the brake, it takes like a second and then it engages, and it's very hard. Like you can literally just fall off the scooter if you're not expecting it. So if you have it on, you should always expect it. You should always be prepared that it engages. Very important. The whole scooter is really heavy. I don't know the exact weight. I don't know, 80, 90, 70 pounds, whatever it is. Like, I can't manage it. I would not carry it anywhere with me, period. Even lifting it into your trunk of the car is like a hassle. But I hope you get the point. The handlebar and where it connects to the main body, the battery, it like wobbles. Like you see, it would be nice that it doesn't wobble, but at the same time, yeah, it is foldable, and transporting it is an important aspect, so I guess that's a sacrifice, but it's not too bad. And remember to tighten bolts, because over here I did find some of the bolts were a little loose, so do make sure to tighten that. Having air tires is good, but that brings the risk of getting a flat. If you're okay with that, you know, good for you. but it is a risk if you, especially if you're thinking of getting of going on a long trip. Yeah, you can have a flat, yeah, but I'm willing to take the risk because comfort is very important to me, especially with these tiny 10-inch wheels. Compared to a bicycle, this is tiny, and you want every possible comfort option available. Air tire suspension, softer shoes, everything goes. Dangerous at high speeds, well, at any speeds. The scooter does not have as much control. It's just different. Like you're standing on top of it. The center of gravity, or however the physics work, I think it's more dangerous than a bicycle. It's much easier to fall off of this than a bicycle, or it's much harder to get out of a tricky maneuvering situation than if you were on a bicycle. I think, in my opinion. I only fell once, and it was going at like 5 miles an hour, and I just pressed the front brake too hard, and I just went forward. But that's why they wear protective gear. The last thing I would complain about is how the brakes came, and well, the brake caliper was very high up and only half of the brake pad was used. What's up with that? So I had to modify it. I mean, it's not much of a modification, it's just that you gotta go in there and change all of that, and then you want to make sure that the brakes don't scratch, so you want to keep readjusting it until it finally doesn't scratch anymore, right? So everything's perfect, but it's like an extra tedious step that you have to go through. But this way you pretty much use almost all of the brake pad. Alright, hope you enjoyed it. You know, check out some of my other videos. Hopefully you find something useful. And enjoy. Be safe. And this thing is a lot of fun. See ya. Alright, here we go. Third gear.